Losing a spouse, it's one of the hardest things any of us will ever face. And in the middle of all that grief, it is so hard to think clearly. Yet you're suddenly expected to make these huge financial decisions that could affect the rest of your life. So today, we're going to gently walk through the most common financial mistakes people make after a loss, and more importantly, how you can protect yourself. And that quote, it really hits home, doesn't it? The stress of trying to manage money right now can be absolutely crushing, physically and mentally. Science actually shows that a grieving brain is essentially in a state of trauma. It's just not wired to handle major life-altering choices. So protecting your finances right now isn't just about money. It's a critical act of protecting your own well-being. So, the big question is, how do you protect yourself when you can barely think straight? Well, it starts with one simple but really powerful idea. Think of it as your first line of defense. This right here is probably the single most important piece of advice you're going to hear. Pretty much every financial expert agrees on this. You need to hit the pause button. Give yourself a 6 to 12-month window. Now, this isn't about putting things off. It's a strategic grace period. It gives your heart time to process and heal before you ask your brain to make huge, permanent changes to your life. Okay, so let's get practical. How does this decision-free zone actually play out in that critical first month? We're going to look at the specific high-pressure mistakes that can pop up and how you can get through them safely. The first and maybe the most common trap is born out of pure panic. It's that urge to make huge, irreversible decisions on impulse. And it's totally understandable. You feel like your world is out of control and you just want to do something to try and feel in charge again. And these are exactly the kinds of decisions we're talking about. You might think, this house feels so empty, I have to sell it. Or, I should move in with my kids right away. Or even, I need to give this money to my family now. Please, just stop. Unless you are in immediate financial danger, do not sell your home, do not make a sudden move, and absolutely do not make any large, unplanned investments or loans. These are the exact choices your decision-free zone is built to protect you from. All right, mistake number 2. This one has to do with that pile of bills that inevitably starts showing up in the mail. Your first instinct might be to just pay everything and make it all go away as fast as possible. But that can be a really costly mistake. This is so important to understand. Any debts that were only in your spouse's name, think a personal credit card or maybe some medical bills, they are typically paid from their estate. The estate is just the legal term for all their assets and liabilities after they've passed. If you rush and pay those bills from your own personal bank account, you could be giving away money you are never, ever legally required to pay. Always get legal advice before you pay off any debt that doesn't have your name on it. Okay, on to the third area where things can go wrong. This is the world of what feels like small stuff, the administrative paperwork and managing accounts. But getting this part wrong can cause major delays and a whole lot of extra stress. Let's break this down. First, order way more copies of the death certificate than you think you need. At least 10 to 15. Trust me, photocopies won't cut it for banks or insurance companies, and this one step will save you weeks of frustration. Second, you do have to notify the bank of your spouse's passing, but, and this is a big but, don't rush to close your joint accounts. If your mortgage or utility bills are paid automatically from that account, closing it can create total chaos. And finally, before you make any changes, make sure you have access to a credit card and some cash in your name and your name alone. You never want to be left financially stranded. And all of this brings us to what might be the biggest mistake of all: trying to get through this storm completely on your own. The single, smartest, strongest thing you can do for yourself right now is to ask for professional help. Please take this one to heart. Grief creates this thick, heavy fog in your brain, right? It makes even simple things feel impossible, let alone complex financial stuff. You're not expected to suddenly become an expert in estate law and investments on top of everything else you're feeling. Admitting that isn't a weakness. It is incredible wisdom. I mean, just look at the difference here. When you try to go it alone, you're up against emotional decisions, confusing laws, and just so much added stress. It's a recipe for costly mistakes. But when you build a team, you get objective advice, you get professional guidance, and you get what is essentially a shield for your assets, and, just as importantly, for your peace of mind. So, who should be on this team? There are 2 key people. First, a fiduciary financial advisor. That word, fiduciary, is critical. It means they are legally required to act in your best interest. Period, no exceptions. Second, you need an estate attorney. This is the expert who will guide you through that legal maze of probate, taxes, and making sure assets are transferred the right way. These people are your professional shield. So, as we wrap this up, I just want to leave you with a final thought. And it really all comes down to self-compassion, because that's the real foundation for protecting your future. In the end, the most important thing is to just be kind to yourself. You are navigating an impossible situation. There is no manual for this. So please give yourself grace, allow yourself to take things one day at a time, or you know what, even 1 hour at a time, whatever you can handle. Ultimately, the person you will be in the future really needs you to be patient and kind to yourself today. So maybe that one act of grace is simply deciding not to decide on something major this week. Or maybe it's making a phone call to find an advisor. Whatever it is, taking that one small protective step, that is a profound act of care for the person you will be tomorrow.